We are doing tonight. We are doing nursing research in the Walden Library, and we have a couple of objectives. We want to show you how to access your course readings, particularly those that say they're found in the library because we've already located them for you. We want to show you how to access assignment guides. Um, some of the classes have some notorious assignments that we have helped with over the years, and some of them we have a little bit of help written up for you. And then we want you to be able to access the nursing resources we pay for here in the library. And we want you to be able to search the nursing databases effectively. So we're going to zoom through this pretty quickly. We have folks from lots of different classes in here, so we're not really going to talk about individual assignments tonight, but I will show you how to find an assignment guide if we have one. And then Lisa will tell me if I'm going too fast, too slow, or if I've skipped something important. Please put that in the questions box and Lisa can let me know. We sometimes have several hundred people on this webinar, so everybody is muted by default, and the question box is a little bit easier to handle than everybody trying to talk through the microphone. All right, let's get started. How to access Walden Library. If you haven't figured it out so far, and I realize we've only been in session for a week this quarter, you don't have to go through the portal or your Blackboard classroom. You can point any browser to library.waldenu.edu. It works great on the phone. I was amazed at how much I was able to do recently while traveling on my tiny little phone screen. And it just lets you explore some things on the fly, particularly when you're just trying to find an article. It's helpful to just pop right into the library and find something. And this is the library homepage. If you haven't seen it before, the one on the left is full size, and then this is what it looks like on a mobile device. And so the mobile device is rearranged a little bit, but the course guides are still there, and the menu items are under the three little lines at the top right. So try it out. It works pretty well. We want to make sure you know about these course guides because we put them together for you. And if you click on the big giant blue course guides button on the library homepage and navigate to your course prefix, for most of you, that's going to be NURS. And then they are in order by number below that. And you can see any of the readings that are supposed to be in the library. We have linked there for you. And then, like I said, some assignment guides there as well. And then we have a whole nursing resources page that has many, many nursing databases. It has books, it has help about theory and statistics and all sorts of things that we have pulled together for you because we have hundreds of databases from dozens of different vendors, and there's no way you could know how to pick out all the nursing stuff from the business stuff, from the public policy stuff, so we've done that for you. And so we would like to take you to the nursing research home, but before that, I'd like to just show you the sections here, because sometimes, depending on how big your browser is, it can be hard to see that there are three separate white boxes on the right. The first one is the gold box search, and that searches several databases at once and is a great place to start if you just need an article for a discussion post and it's not a specific article from a specific database, but you need something on a topic. The gold box is a beautiful place to get that. And then underneath that, if you need the individual nursing databases, if your assignment says search CINAHL or search Medline or search for databases, go under the nursing databases there to see a list and links to even more of them. And then below that, we've got research help. So if you are getting into tests and measures or statistics or theories, things like that, look at the research help and we may be able to get you started on that as well. So I'm going to go over to our browser here, and this is the home page. And let me make that a little bit bigger here so that you can see this giant blue course guides here. It's so big that a lot of people miss it, so I want to point it out. And then when you go to NURS and pick your class, then you've got some course ratings here, and each of these should be a current link. If it is not, we will fix that, and you can go to Ask a Librarian, and we'll fix it for everybody. And then this is where you would find your assignment guides if there is one on the left. They don't all have assignment guides, but some of them do. So back to the home page. This is the deal. And then select a subject. This is how you get to your program area. Walden has lots of programs in all of these different areas. And like I said, we've got hundreds of databases. So to get to the things that are nursing specific, try going to the nursing research page, and then you can see Lisa and me here on the left, and you can start a gold box search. If you are doing something like childhood obesity, you can just pop that in the box and find something. And I wouldn't put too many words in that box, but frequently, if you just need anything, it can come out that way. If you are looking for something more specific, it really helps to separate your concepts. And that's why you have 3 different boxes here, because it helps to kind of expand each concept and then put them together. So if we wanted to look at childhood obesity, let's talk about child as being a concept. And when you start typing that, it gives you lots of different options here. And it's your choice whether you're including the teenagers in that or whether you want to just say children or child or youth. And putting the or between them says I will take any of these words. And so it's going to increase my hits a lot to be able to include adolescent or youth as a search term, not just child or children. And so when we click search there, that's just our first concept. And so we've got 5.5 million hits. This is your search results tally here in the middle. So let's add the obesity concept. And when you start typing that, it will show you some other ways to express it. So you could take obesity or overweight or fat. You could pick obesity or health. You could take the whole line there, or you can pick and choose. You can just say, I don't want all of that BMI. I don't want to get into that. So I can just say, take it up to obese and hit enter. And that's saying I'm taking any of those 4 words. But using this and between them means that the articles retrieved have to have this concept and this concept. And then we put them together, and now we only have 250,000. Okay? So this is kind of a big, broad search. And then as you scroll down and look at the results, you can see some ideas on how to narrow it further. So if you were talking about genetic aspects of obesity, you might use that concept. If you were looking for nutrition as an element of childhood obesity, you could put nutrition in box number 3. If you were looking at motivation or bullying or physical activity, pick one concept for each box and keep narrowing it down. You can click this plus sign here and add more rows as well, but I wouldn't do that too quickly. You want to start slow, look at the results, see how it's working, make sure that your terms are working correctly before you start limiting. Okay, so we still have what, 250,000 hits here, and I was going to add a third concept, and let's try fast food. And it has lots of suggestions for that, or junk food, or unhealthy food, or convenience food. And then we click search again, and it's going to take the last search and find these in addition to our other terms. And now we're down to about 6,800. Now, this is a pretty good search, but most of your assignments will specify recent in some way and peer reviewed, and that can be done from the results here. So if we scroll down in the left side under the limit to, we can click peer reviewed scholarly journals only, and that will limit our search to those types of journals. And that takes out about 1,000 of them there. And then we've got articles back to 1990. So we can say, well, I only want to see the last 5 years. And so I typed in 2014 in this box here and either hit enter or click off and it will update again. And we're down to about 2,600. Okay, now it is ranking this by relevance and trying to give you the most relevant articles first. This one happens to be from 2015 from a journal called Health Education and Behavior. And now how do you get to the article? Now, most people will click on the title and then it's kind of odd when you don't see the article here. This Find at Walden button is key to getting to the full text if you haven't found it already. When you click Find at Walden, it's going to go out and find the article in one of our databases, and each one might look a little different depending on the journal. This database, or the publisher of the journal. This publisher is Sage, and the PDF link is this tiny little icon down here with the red on it. And sometimes that can be a little hard to spot. Sometimes it's kind of a Where's Waldo kind of situation there. So when I close that out and go back here and go back to my list, then there are other ways of the results will show. When I click the Find at Walden on this one and it has more than one, I can click on that. And if it doesn't work, I can go back and click another one. So if it has more than one database, frequently they just don't match up. And this one can't find it from the Journal of Physical Education and Sport. So I can go back and try another one. And I happened to do this right before our class, and all of these are not working. So if you're just looking for an assignment, I would just go back to your hit list here and pick another one. If you were doing a dissertation or a capstone and you really need this article, we can get it for you. But if you're just doing an assignment, I would move on and find another one, since we still have 2,693 articles here. Okay. Any questions up to this point I can help with, Lisa?
No questions so far, Julie.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so many of these just have the Find at Walden button, and you may have a couple of steps more to get to the full text. This one, when it has the little red icon here, should pull up the full text immediately. As you scroll down, there was one in here, and I may not be able to find it now, but occasionally you'll find one that has more than one option that will say HTML full text or PDF full text. And sometimes you just have to take it in HTML. And that just means that it's not going to look like it was printed from a magazine. It's just going to have the text itself on the page. But if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask a librarian. This database that we're searching now is the combined database of that gold box search. And it isn't called EBSCO. EBSCO is the company from which we get the subscription. So that can be important if your assignment says to name what database you searched. If that's the case, you may want to come back over here to the subject research nursing page and go to the nursing databases directly. We have one that's CINAHL and Medline combined, but then we have CINAHL and Medline separated out. CINAHL would be a great database to get to know if you are in any of the nursing programs, because it is specific to nursing. CINAHL is an acronym like everything these days. It stands for the Cumulative Index to Nursing and Allied Health Literature. And it really is a best bet for nursing students because it has so much in there relating specifically to nursing. And it's helpful that it uses the 3 search boxes here, just like we just did in the gold box search, to keep our concepts separate. We can keep those in the 3 different boxes. And then down below here, we have search options. So you can limit it to peer-reviewed scholarly journals from here. You can limit the publication date from the beginning. But like I said before, I think it's helpful to do the search first and then apply the limits once you've found that you've had a good search. Too many people come up with 0 results, and we never want to see you have 0 results, okay? When you get into more advanced things, like we're going to talk about on Wednesday, you can get into different types of publications and clinical queries and age and things like that. But otherwise, stick with your 3 boxes, make sure you've got some good results, and then apply limits. You'll notice that Medline is also from that same EBSCO company, and you'll see here at the top that we're searching Medline with full text, but it has the same interface. So it should be fairly familiar. Now that's just one of the vendors that we use. Another of our vendors is ProQuest, and their nursing and allied health source has some of the same journals as CINAHL and Medline, but has some that are not in CINAHL and Medline. So it helps to search them separately. It does look a little different. This one only has 2 rows to start, but you can add a row, same way with the little plus sign, and it has the same features. They may just be in a little bit different place here. So you might have to hunt around a little bit to find them to be the same as the search in CINAHL. But when you get to the actual searching and the find at Walden part, that is pretty much the same. It does search in ProQuest, it does search the full text of the article by default. So sometimes it can be helpful to play with this drop down box, but that's not really necessary when you're just searching for any article. That's a real more of an advanced search feature that we'll look at on Wednesday as well. And back here on our nursing page with the nursing databases expanded, if you click View All Nursing Databases, these are our favorites up here. But then when you scroll down, we have several others like Joanna Briggs that may not be as comprehensive as CINAHL and Medline, but has some really great stuff in there as well. Okay. So let's go back over here, and we looked at CINAHL and we looked at Medline a little bit, and this is what ProQuest looks like with the add a row. It does have more popular publications in it, and it has more associations in it. So association newsletter publications would not be peer reviewed, but that doesn't mean that they can't provide some insight to your research. It does search very differently. So doing the same search in both databases is a good way to see how different they are. And these are all the different ways that Find at Walden can express itself, all the different ways to get to the full text. And remember, I said not all of them have the PDF. Some of them have this HTML full text. And if that's the only thing there, you can still read it, you can copy it, you just can't save it in that PDF format easily. So the other thing I wanted to talk about here is Boolean, and I can't believe I don't have that word here on it, but B-O-O-L-E-A-N. You'll find it in a lot of the nursing literature because it's a search. It's a collection of these search limiters, the and, or, and not. When you put them together, those 3 terms can help you sort through the literature and find things. So one way I like to look at that is with candy. And it's not a good thing to do with childhood obesity, but as long as we're talking about it, this is my favorite way to say it. So if you are just looking at chocolate and you just want something that's all it is chocolate, you've got a big lot to choose from, whether it be Hershey's or Dove or Cadbury. There's lots of things that are chocolate, whether they be white chocolate or dark chocolate or milk chocolate, they all fall into chocolate. If you want chocolate and nuts, that's a smaller set of stuff. That's going to be your Snickers and your Hershey's with almonds and uh, lots and lots of other delicious things, but they would fall into this area here. If I only wanted chocolate and caramel or nougat, I would take caramel or nougat. That would be this area here, and that would be something like your Milky Way or your Cadbury caramel that just has the two main ingredients in that. But if I want all three together, that's the intersection of these three circles so that it has chocolate and nuts and caramel or nougat. And that would be things like Snickers that has all three in them. And I apologize to those of you who did not grow up with American candy and the joy that is the Snickers bar and many of the other lovely fattening delicacies we have here. But does that make sense with the Boolean? Are there questions that I can answer about this? And so this, we're looking at chocolate and nuts. Chocolate and nuts and caramel is this tiny little spot in the middle. Okay. Lisa, we have any questions about
You
how we're
know,
putting these together?
we don't have any Boolean questions, but there
Okay.
is a question that's asking about search modes and expanders. That came in actually when you were demoing one of the databases.
Okay, so search modes and expanders. Not exactly sure what that was about. Oh, I need to get my red dot. So search mode, oh, that's this whole section of search modes. So by default, it's Boolean, and that's what that word means, is the and or not. And that's the default in almost all of these databases, is that you put a concept in a box and the and connects them. So if I put chocolate in the first box and I change this to chocolate or nuts, then it would pick up not just chocolate by itself and nuts by itself and the ones together. So I don't want to confuse it anymore, but that's what this means. And I've never switched this from the Boolean phrase mode. That's why I wasn't sure what search mode and expanders was, but that's what that is. Apply related words would be something like if I only put in child, it might add pediatric for me because pediatric and child are more or less equivalent, right? And then also search within the full text of the articles usually brings back way too many articles. But applying equivalent subjects can be helpful there too. So I almost never work with these search options from the beginning unless I have a very specific question. When I'm just looking for something on a topic, I use the three search boxes at the top and then I limit from the limit screen. I do find that different people do it differently. Some people like to come down here and really get into some of uh, these limiters, but I have found that even things about children don't always have the age thing in there correctly. They don't always identify that in the same way because there's a lot, you can see there's a lot of different definitions of child here, and it's not regular between different articles. So I just don't get too much into this. Human can be useful when you're coming up with way too many rat studies or mouse studies, but typically that's not necessary either because things will be about humans. Typically, it will be about humans by default. Does that answer that question about search modes and expanders? It'll look a little bit different when we go over to the ProQuest. And oops, I've already lost that one. When we get to, let me just do let me go back to here and hit another ProQuest just to show you what that looks like a little bit differently in here. So if we go back to here and we put in child or pediatric in the first box and obesity or overweight, and you can see it has some suggestions as well. Then we have the same types of limiters down here, but once again, I would do the search first, see what the results look like, and then you can limit here on the left from the results screen so that you make sure that you have a good search set to work. Um, and then you can use this little slider bar here to limit that down. But you do have to click the little update button here after you add a date range, things like that. So they have many of the same functions, but they just work a little bit differently here. Usually the back button will get you back to your search. This one also has a modify search button here as well that would take you back to this search screen if you'd like to apply some limits. All right. Let's see what else we've got to talk about tonight. Oh, Google Scholar. And I told y'all that I was going to do half an hour and then I just started talking. So let me zoom through. I know nobody out there has used Google Scholar yet, have you? No, everybody has used Google Scholar at some point for something, whether it puts you in there on purpose or not. It can be really useful. One of the things I really like about Google Scholar is if you have an older article, let's say you're trying to find something recent, but this is the closest you can find, and it's from 2015 from the Journal of School Nursing. I can take the title of this article by highlighting it, and then you can either do Control C or use copy. And then let's go over to Google Scholar. And you want to paste the title of the article only. If you paste that title in with those words in that order, it almost always matches exactly, which I think is terrific. It shows us here's the title. I don't click on the title in Google Scholar though. That's going to take us to the publisher. And the publisher, more often than not, will say, okay, I'll give you the article if you give us $30 or something along those lines. But I have connected my Scholar to Walden, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second so I can get to the full text here. But there's a couple other things to look at. You can see there are different versions of this article. They may be in different publications, but be related. You can also see this related articles button here, and it tries to figure out some of the same types of articles by the keywords. It's a machine though, so sometimes it works and sometimes it does not. You can also use this little quotation mark here to do an automatically generated citation in APA format. This one looks pretty good, but you do have to check them because it's done by an automated process. They're not always correct. Sometimes you will see, especially here, you'll see ND instead of the date, and ND stands for no date, and frequently the date is right on the article, so you can fix that when you are citing that article. Okay. Google Scholar can do lots of lovely other things. You can limit by date here. There is no peer-reviewed scholarly journal option in Google Scholar. But there are ways around that. If you really want to use Google Scholar, I would suggest linking it up to Google Library would be your first, to Walden Library would be the first thing. And from the library homepage, let me show you that we do have under Start Your Research, you can search Google Scholar from a search box that's already connected to the library here. So you can do it that way, but you can connect your Scholar to Walden Library through the instructions here. It's a little farther down. And it's a simple one-time thing on each computer, and you can connect up to 5 libraries. So if you work at an academic medical center or you have alumni privileges or something like that, you can look in more than one library at a time. Now, my favorite button on the whole website is Get Help up here. Get Help not only has the upcoming webinars and recorded webinars, in case you want to see what I said last quarter about this particular search, but it also has some library skills guides. If you are having library anxiety, and that is a real thing, you can come in here and get some short tutorials on how to get started on various library uh, functions. And then we also have technical help here and quick answers. Quick Answers is the best kept secret in the library because it's not just library. It has all kinds of things in there. Remember I was talking about peer review earlier? If you don't know what peer review is, type that in there and we have a quick answer that explains what is peer review. How do I find scholarly peer reviewed journals? Things like that. If I put Google Scholar in here, it will say, is there a way to automatically connect the library to Google Scholar and give you the directions here? So that is another handy way to use our Get Help and our Quick Answers. Quick Answers also has stuff from the Writing Center and from Academic Skills Center. So if you have to do a PowerPoint and you have no idea how to get started on that, then you can go here and put in PowerPoint and get all of their help things on the PowerPoint program. And last but not least, Ask a Librarian, which is here, but it's also here in the upper right. If you click on Ask a Librarian, you'll see 4 options. Email, this form will send us an email automatically. And the next time we have a person on shift, which is usually several times a day, you'll get a reply there. So just give us as many details as you can. If you're having trouble, if you tell us what you're trying to access, maybe what database, take your time because this will take quite a lot of text in here and is an efficient way to communicate with the librarians. If you want to see if we can answer it right now, we have chat hours, often more than once a day. Tonight, they will start in almost a little less than an hour at 7:30 p.m. Eastern to 9:30, and you can chat in real time with the librarian. This is a good way to find something, find a quick question, a quick answer to a question. Not really a good format for an involved literature search type of thing, but really handy if you are in need of a quick answer and you're not finding it in the quick answers. We have humans to help you here with that. And then the phone option is my least favorite because you will be leaving a phone message, a voicemail message for us when we will be returning it by email. Oftentimes it's a little bit more efficient to send us an email with it written out. Sometimes it can be hard to hear the voicemail on the phone. So all of this is under Ask a Librarian. We also do have doctoral research appointments for those working on their PhD or DNP. And if you click that, you can get to the schedule and schedule your appointment yourself. So that's also under Get Help or Ask a Librarian, and I put a copy of that in the slides. What other questions do you have?
Julie, quick question.
Yes.
Do you happen to know if JAMA is still down?
No, I think they fixed JAMA the other day, but let's just go look at that
Okay.
and see, because JAMA, we did an upgrade. It was like the Thursday before the quarter start, which is really not a great time to do an upgrade, but it was not our choice. It was the third time is the charm from the ITS people. And so JAMA was having a little trouble with the new system. So I went from the library homepage, if I did that too quickly, I went to this big blue journals button here and I just put in JAMA. JAMA is now known as JAMA. It used to be all completely spelled out. When you go to a particular journal, it can look pretty different depending on the journal. This is the current issue, May 28th of JAMA, and these are the full text links here. So it looks like it is working again. I have absolutely no idea what half of these words mean, but I'm going to click on it. Oh, and there it is. If you are a Chrome user, I want to show you how the PDF kind of went down there in the lower left. I've found a lot of students, once they get the PDF, they can't figure out where it went to. And that kind of depends on your browser. If you're using Firefox, you'll get a down arrow here up in the upper right of the corner. So a lot of things are fairly browser specific. If you're having trouble, you might look at the help for your browser. But yeah, it looks like JAMA's working just fine. We could search within the publication here if we only wanted something from the journal JAMA. And I love searching without a net, so let's try it out. Oh, look at that, 901 articles that have obesity and child in JAMA only. And you can see that limit over here that we are only looking in the Journal of the American Medical Association. Thanks, that was a good question.
Yeah, so kind of a related question I have for you is what happens if you're searching and you hit that screen that says you have to sign in, you have to have an account or a subscription?
So if something is not working and you get a sign-in screen that does not resemble the Walden screen, and by now, since we've been in school for a week, you may have seen it. Oh, I was just trying to bring up a fresh browser, and uh, the sign-in screen. So if we go to, if you know what database you're going to go to, you can go straight to databases A to Z and hit that CINAHL from the C. If you know that CINAHL starts with a C. This is your regular Walden Library login screen. If you see something else, that is probably the journal itself. People that subscribe to the journal on paper frequently have their own login for that, but unless it's going through a login that is branded with Walden, your Walden credentials are not going to work. So like I said, we had dozens of publishers, thousands of journals. And so if you see something besides the Walden specific screen, then you've kind of hit a dead end and either ask a librarian or try a different article. Okay?
Great, thank you, Julie.
People see that a lot from the Google Scholar page because if I click on the title of it here, it's going to go to the Journal of School Nursing, but may not necessarily know that I'm a Walden person because I was in Google Scholar. So this is saying view access options and is not giving me the actual journal article. Whereas if I go back and I use this little find at Walden link over here and cross my fingers, then, oh, here's a great example. Okay, so this is different databases. So Sage was the publisher and that says to present, which is really helpful. But you see how these each have different date ranges on them. That means that we actually get this journal through all these different ways. We get packages from each of these publishers. So since this article is fairly recent, I would pick one that is to the present. But occasionally somebody's looking for something historical, or if this link did not work, I would go back and try another one of those. That is a really good question. And this is where I would get to the PDF full text. What other questions do you have?
No other questions right now.
All right. Well, hopefully you can pull from this little session we've had here and know that you can get to the library through library.waldenu.edu. You can bookmark it. You can put it on your bookmarks toolbar, things like that. For each new quarter, I would go and look to see if there is a course guide and see if there's any assignment help that might be with it. For example, Nursing 6052 just started a new quarter, and while we don't have, this is an all new course, and so it doesn't have assignment guides over here, but it has 3 helpful links here that might be useful to folks in that course. So, so check your course guides. at the beginning of each quarter, and it might save you some time trying to find those library readings and some of the other things that can be useful in your studies. All right, if there aren't any more questions, I will let you all go. If you have not noticed yet, we do have another session coming up on Wednesday that is going to build on this session and get into some of those more advanced functions, and that would be the Advanced Nursing Research Library Lab. Same time, 2 days from now, we'll also look at a couple more of the different databases that are in there and some of the more advanced search functions. But in the meantime, you know how to reach us from the library homepage. Click Ask a Librarian and let us know how we can help you. All right.